What you're about to hear is a presentation from author and generational expert Haydn Shaw. It's called Leading Across Generations. It was presented to business leaders at an event hosted by Global Disciples in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, October 2019.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. We had a rule in our home. There are no visible tattoos as long as you're on my payroll, right? And so when my son, he got his first one when we were gone. It wasn't visible. He got his first one when we were gone, and he was smart enough to do that because he knew his mother wouldn't like it at all. And then he got a pizza slice a year ago where the tip of the pizza slice was visible under a short-sleeved shirt. And I have to say, I didn't like it at all. And I expressed that in no uncertain terms. You with me? Yeah, because what I was thinking is, what is wrong with my son? Matter of fact, what's wrong with anybody who would want a pizza slice permanently on their arm? Matter of fact, what is wrong with anybody that would get a pizza slice that other people could see in case they weren't into pizza and then didn't want to hire you? I was thinking, my son and his entire tattoo generation is stupid. I finally calmed down and made my peace with it, and my wife and I said the upside of all of this is it'll be very easy to shop for his birthday. Every year we'll just give him a new topic. So now we don't have to figure out what we're going to buy him. Okay, now, here's what really bothers me. He's looking for a job in advertising in Jacksonville, Florida. That's where he decided he was going to move to. He had a brother who lived there already. He was going to move down there. And the guy said to him, "Oh, you went to a religious college?" He said, I'm Jewish. Some other people aren't anything. This is Jacksonville. We've had some people who are pretty conservative religiously. Sometimes they're difficult to get along with." He goes, "What are you going to be like?" He said, "I have a pizza slice tattoo on my arm." He said, "Dad, it was actually the pizza slice tattoo that kind of got me the job." It bothers me, all these generations bother me a little bit. Am I the only one in the room who has some questions about other generations? Am I the only one? REM had a song, "It's the End of the World." But this is the first time in history we've ever had 4 generations. We've just never had this in any before. Right? So let me turn some slides for those people that feel like they've not been in a presentation without PowerPoint. You know who you are. You're like, he was just talking if there's not any PowerPoint. Just so you know, I had a plan. Let's turn some slides and then we'll talk some more. Okay? And I had my son give me a pizza slice picture. I've got to get it off my phone and put it in there. 4 generations. That's what he said to me. "At least you got an illustration out of this." Seriously, that was his rationalization. "There's something in it for you, Dad," is what he said. "You got a story now." All right? 4 generations of employees. Why do we have 4 generations of employees? First time in history. People won't die. They just really won't anymore. They just live on and on and on. Anybody in the medical field? Yeah, because it would be your fault if you were in the medical field. Yeah, it's good, healthy living. 4 generations of employees, 5 generations of customers for the first time. Actually, I think it's one of God's greatest blessings is that we live 30 years longer. Anybody know what mortality was in 1900? What the tape will show? 48. Matter of fact, go look around the room. Go look around the room. 48 was mortality. That gives whole new meaning to I see dead people, does it not? Just kind of look at me and look around the room here. Yeah, isn't it one of God's great blessings? Anybody know what we live to now? 78, almost 79 currently, and 83 is exactly right. That's the projection of where Generation X will live. The Social Security Administration is using 92 for the far end of millennials. All this means, Gen X, is that you will never retire because Social Security, you won't qualify for it until you're like 78 if you're gonna live that long. So Xers, just Trying to stay at it. It's going to be a long haul. And so 5 generations of customers are citizens, right? Or patients. We just never had this challenge before. And it leads to a bit of a problem in families. Because wait your turn has been how we've handled it through the years. Anybody heard that before? We're not going to be around forever. When we're gone, you can do it in any way you want. That's what I heard about our family vacation, our family reunion. Hey, the teenagers don't want to go to the state park anymore and sit in the lobby and play checkers and Legos and then go to the pool. They're losing their minds. They're actually begging us to not come, and we're having to beat them with sticks to get them into the minivan. And my mother, here's what she said. You know, we're not going to be around forever. The older people wouldn't like it. Because our kids wanted to go to a water park. All the nephews, nieces, they all wanted to go to a water park. We don't want to go to a water park. It'd be hot. We'd have to sit outside all day and we wouldn't be together. I said, that's the point. They don't want to be with you. They like eating together, and then they like doing something that you probably don't want to do. My mom said, you know, in 5 or 6 years we'll all be gone. I said, I hope not. And in 5 or 6 years, some of them will have babies and they'll want to go to the state park because there's a lodge upstairs and they can put them down for a nap. This was a great place 15 years ago. It is a horrible place for right now. Does this make sense? Wait your turn is a bit jammed up now with 4 generations. The second book I wrote is on religious organizations, churches especially, and generations. You see in religious organizations. It used to be that when people passed at an earlier age, there was still always some people who lived on and may have objected to changing things. But, when people died, things would change. And today it makes it very complicated in religious organizations when some people are, 92 and are like, don't change my music. And other people are 22 saying, I don't know, your music hasn't changed in like 5 generations. Benny Goodman was a kid with your music. So what on earth? You follow me? And so it's never been more complicated. You run into the same things as you lead a business. If you want to lead a business well, and if you want to lead a business in a way that treats people with respect and dignity and leads for the best of people, the challenge is, and I'm doing a whole bunch of research now. And so, I don't know, I've been through probably 3,000 studies in the last 2 months. And a bunch of stuff is out on, the generations are really the same. One of my favorites is, the generations are all the same. Here's what they want: more money and a promotion. Thank you for sharing. It's a lot like saying compact cars are really inexpensive to drive. But when you're 6'1", it doesn't help you at all, right? That would be news you could use. We're really all the same. We just want more money and a promotion. Well, great. We're not a big outfit, and therefore the only promotion is my job, and I need it. Okay? So we don't have those. And last I knew, we were looking at how we could reduce costs rather than pay more. You follow me? So while that may be true, it's not very helpful. Yeah. Really the generations all want the same things. Yes, but they want the delivery mechanism differently. Don't you see that when it comes to advertising and marketing? What one generation responds to, the next generation thinks is not so much. And so, how do we best serve different generations when there's so many of them? That's the cover of the book. The publisher has me put that in the slide deck. Traditionalists, 1901 to 1943. Any traditionalists in the room? Usually, you're not supposed to ask people their age. My mama taught me, but if you're a traditionalist, you're usually pretty proud of it. Yeah, how about baby boomers? Any baby, come on baby boomers, put one hand up. Actually, baby boomers, put 2 hands up. Now put them out. It's your birthday, you're the last generation to get full Social Security. It's your birthday, right? That's why extras have to work, so that you can have Social Security. Now, every generation has a cusp. There are people with characteristics of the preceding generation, the following generation, that don't easily fall in the typical generalization. Now, you get it that we're talking about statistical models here, right? These generalizations are accurate over large numbers of people, but not accurate over any one person. A stereotype is when you apply an accurate, valid generalization to one person, and they're like, oh, you're a millennial. What kind of tattoo do you have? Well, only 39% of millennials have tattoos. And so you really only have right? And you would begin to make assumptions, and while it's a statistically valid generalization, it's a stereotype when you apply it to any one person. And so even those generalizations get a little fuzzy when it's a transition from one generation to the next. For example, I'm back here. I'm 63, so Mrs. Shaw says, you overwork like a boomer and you're cynical like an Xer. I got the worst of both generations in my package. And some days I don't disagree with her on her rather cryptic comment. So let me see how many Xers we have, 65 through 81. Xers, you're the smallest generation. So you got a lot of hands up here, good for you. You're the smallest generation. And there's a sociological reason for that. Your mama didn't want you. That's the sociological reason why you're the smallest generation. Actually, horror films tell us what we're scared of. The older generation, we were scared of the atomic bomb, and so we had Godzilla and Mothra, King of the Monsters, and then we had today we have zombie everything because we're scared of terrorists. But when Gen X was being born, we were scared of babies. The monster baby devil child genre of films started with Rosemary's Baby, right about the time Gen Xers, the live births went under 4 million. Rosemary's Baby. I'm not saying Rosemary's Baby caused people to have fewer children, but it was an indication of changing social trends. Come on, work with me here. I know it's breakfast, but name some of the devil baby movies. Chucky, when your doll wants to cut your leg off, that's a horrible genre. Okay? Another one. Children of the Corn was actually a flop. Didn't do well at the box office, as Stephen King always does well at the box office. Children of the Corn didn't do well because live births were beginning to go up again and the trends were changing. And actually, it was Raising Arizona, 3 Men and a Baby, and Baby Boo that were all low-budget breakout films. Not about babies that would kill you, they were about babies who would change you. You little selfish yuppie, self-centered. Instead, you get a child you never wanted, and that child would transform you. Disney could not wait because when the Gen Xers were out, Disney were desperate to come up with something else, so they did Tron and the Black Hole, right? Not their best films of all time. And now that children are back to the center of everything with Baby on Board, suction cups, and signs in the back of windows, they can make a movie and make billions of dollars off of every film they do because the kids are back, right? You're going to see them in just a few days. They're going to be little Elsas everywhere supporting the billion-dollar industry, which is Frozen, right? So Xers, you're small but mighty, smallest of the generations. And then any customer, 78 through 83, any Gen X customer. Beautiful. How about any pure millennials? Any millennials? I want you to know millennials, I'm not a millennial hater. I love millennials because being at the end of the baby boom, my only hope of getting any Social Security at a decent age is if all you millennials work long and hard. So may you prosper, right? May you prosper. You know, it says in the Bible to pray for the good of the city that you're in. I pray for the good of the generation that will support my old age. All right. And so, new generation, sometimes they're called Generation Z. I think Generation Z is not a name that's going to stick because that would make the new generation of my grandkids AA, and no grandparent wants their kids in AA. So the new generation, I think, is going to have a different name, but right now we just call them Z. Traditionalists, baby boomers, almost 80 million, Gen Xers, 60 million, and then millennials, 83 million. Gen Z, the new generation, will be equally as large as the millennials. When we don't understand generational differences, we react to small things, we ignore big things, and we propose the wrong things. Here's the problem. All right, now hear this. Everyone must come in and be seen at work. Yeah, you have some people who take advantage of remote work policies, and so let's just mandate this. That would be what is in organizations an overreaction. Have you ever seen those happen? One person does it, so we will punish you all as if you were all creepy people. Yeah, and so as a result, that doesn't help a lot. It's an overreaction. And so, when we don't understand it, if you want to provide great service or sit in generational sticky points, here's some very practical steps. Sometimes people say, I've been through generational presentations before, but they're not very practical. So let me just give you some very quick steps that you can use to make a real impact in your organization. The first one is listen. So when we go into organizations and actually ask people how things are going, their leaders are about 20% more confident things are going better generationally than their people actually are. One of the most important things we can do is just listen to people. I think one of the greatest ways to show love and respect to people within the workplace is just to listen to them and their stories. Does that make any sense? Oh, and by the way, Gallup discovered that managers that spend at least some time with every employee once a week have 3 times the engagement levels of people who don't. So who would have thought the kindest, most loving thing we could do is also good for engagement? Who would have thought that if you treat people with dignity and respect, and if they really matter, they would be more engaged? Shocking. We needed billions of dollars to research that, didn't we? To find out that kindness actually works out in the real world. Would you turn to the person next to you? Would you look them in the eye and give them this coaching advice? Come on, find a person to talk to. Look them in the eye and give them this coaching advice. Be nice to people.
Be nice to people.
And you make a little more money. Basic general business coaching. Yeah, basic general business coaching. And then get a plan. Ratchet up your generational IQ. Most people do better with generational IQ. One of the questions that came in even before today was, how do you deal with generational differences without stereotypes? Raising generational IQ. Now, first of all, if you take the generalizations and you overapply them, that's stereotyping. But you know, there are a lot of stereotypes. Younger generations don't have a good work ethic. I heard that in the hospital. They just don't care about patient safety. About patients the same way. No, because they need to find love. They won't work Labor Day. You know, when you were 23 and starting as a nurse, you kind of knew who you were. You were either married or knew who you were pretty much going to spend your time with. You didn't have to worry who you were going to, what your plans were when you were off work. But now that people marry much later, 28, 29, the average age last year was 30 for men and 28 for women. There's this additional period of time in which people aren't so sure what their plans are for their off time. And if they can't go away with their friends for a long weekend, then they may not ever find love. I said, you want all the nurses to work shifts that make it very difficult to maintain dating relationships that will allow them to move into long-term life partners or get married, right? And they're like, I never thought of it that way before. You didn't have this problem. You didn't like working Labor Day and night, but you didn't have the same problem. But you're blaming people. You're blaming people for not caring when it's a very different circumstance. You follow me? So sometimes what will happen is we just got to ratchet up our generational IQ, or we will attribute to people meaning that they don't have. Here's what I said to my son. Okay, here's what I worry about this tattoo. You're not, you haven't found some person you're going to marry yet, and you got to get it by somebody my age. When you go and talk to her dad, here's what he's going to think. He was drunk and got a pizza slice on his arm. That's what somebody my age is going to think. You're going to have lots of explaining to do, Lucy, on how to interpret why you would be fully sober and get a pizza slice. You're going to have explaining to do to interpret this behavior, because in my generational country, we don't do that. In my generation, I said, what were you thinking? He goes, well, it is a little larger than I anticipated. I should have had to stencil it out, but I figured since I was a graphic artist, I kind of know, and that was done. He said, so it is a little longer than I thought. I was just thinking it shows I'm a guy with a good sense of humor. I said, wow, you're going to need a label at the bottom of this that says this. I wasn't drunk. I just wanted you to know I was a guy with a good sense of humor. it is really easy to attribute meaning and values to another generation. Would you turn to the person you just talked to and repeat after me? You ready? Other generations are like people from another country.
Other generations are like...
Nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. Yeah. So we got to ratchet up our generational IQ, or we attribute to these people stuff we shouldn't attribute. Now, I know many of you, because if you're connected, with global disciples, many of you are also trying to figure out how do we live like people who are apprentices to Jesus when we're working. How we lead. And part of good leading is to not attribute negative values to other people, or as it says in the good book, to bear with one another. To be tenderhearted and compassionate is what that means in that verse. Part of that is just to go, okay, let me get curious as to why you would do something that my generation just seems a bit dumb. A couple of days ago, I was in Nested Readings, and one of them said, we do this open office concept, we change out cubes, we go to open office, and then what do people do to cope with an open office? They wear Dr. Dre noise-canceling headphones all the time, and now you can't talk to anybody. And you know why they do it? Because the baby boomers' communication device was a Chevy. Baby boomers spent their entire childhood growing up talking to each other. See that squirrel? I did. Are you hungry? I'm hungry. Look at that. Oh, I love that song. Change the station. Baby boomers' instant messaging device was a Chevy. That's why in school reunions, you really had your closest friends were like 5 or 6 because that's all you could fit into your instant messaging device. Whereas extras could have a much bigger circle of friends, like the show friends, because they could text each other. It's also why companies have policies. You cannot make personal calls at work. I have to. I have no idea what I'm doing tonight because somebody's plans change and we have to get a hold of 9 people and figure out what we're doing. That's at least 7 phone trees in order to get back and forth to everybody and rearrange plans. My kids grew up with the texting where it was a group text of 70 people. How many of you with teenagers keep your phones close by? Because today, 20 teenagers could descend upon your home on a Friday evening with no notice. Baby boomers, we needed a president, a vice president, a treasurer, a megaphone, a clipboard, and 4 meetings to organize 70 people. They do a group text, and they leave one house and go to another house, and the young men will clean out your pantry like locusts. Every bit of junk food is gone after 15 of them descend on you. Now, my wife would be like, all right, I'll go clean up some stuff, and you go get some snacks. Because we did the text that said, hey, can we all come over? How many of you? Oh, only 40. So my son says to me, can I have $200 to buy some presents for all my friends for Christmas his freshman year in high school? I'm like, it's a little steep, but okay, what are you going to get him? Here's what I thought, oh, I'm going to get a really nice present this year. Nope, I got Kenny G's duets. I said, they play this stuff in nursing homes, in funeral homes. How old do you think I am? Well, I knew you like jazz. No, John Coltrane. Anyway, so I was so mad that I did, because he came back to me and said, can I have a little more money? I still have 2 more people to buy for. I said, well, how many presents have you bought? 38. I thought you were just going to get them for your best friends. Yeah, I just have 40 best friends. Because text messaging allowed a whole tribe of people, as opposed to a Chevy of people. When you get curious and you ask people, why do you have your earbuds in? Because the baby boomers talk all the time. You get an email from the corporate office, and then they read it out loud. Hey, did you see the email? And then they read it out loud. A Gen Xer said to me recently, it makes me want to take the stylus out of my Note 8 and jam it through my eye. She's wonderful. She brings the most amazing brownies a couple times a month. Like she it's on my screen. Just stop. So I just have to wear earbuds. Seriously, Tuesday. They said, I asked them, what are you listening to? Nothing, I just have the noise canceling on. Friends, it's the end of the world as we know it. That behavior seems strange to us until we get curious. The most loving thing we can do is get curious. Anybody here ever fall in love and get married? Anybody here ever find that the person they love is a whole different country? It's a cross-cultural relationship. Anybody ever go with their family of origin and go, you people are interesting? Wow. More than that, you ever look up after 36 years of marriage and say, woman, you never cease to surprise me. I think I know you. And you are a whole different country sometimes. Right? And so part of what we do is we just get curious. I've learned a long time ago to not go, maybe that was dumb. What would you do? What were you doing? And instead to say, oh, huh. What's up? And she often has a reason for what she does. Not always, but often has a reason. And curiosity certainly has led to a much richer and less conflicted relationship. Anybody learn the same thing? You can either keep quiet or you can get curious if you want to have a long and happy love relationship. And I know that sounds stereotypical, but it's actually 25 years of the best research on marriage. The magic word of marriage after 25 years of the very finest research. Is you ready? The magic word of marriage is whatever. Yeah, the magic word of marriage. 25 years of research is whatever. Okay. You be you. And just don't make me watch a show where you look at people, look at 3 different homes and then pick one. You be you, but just don't make me watch that. And you think football's stupid, huh? And she gets really upset. Oh, I cannot believe how selfish the father is. He just wanted the deck and the view. Those rooms are way too small for those children. And she is all wound up like it was a bad performance in the red zone. Like, baby, seriously, we will never know these people, and we will never go to Atlanta. So why do you care? Which, when I think about it out loud, is exactly what she says about large men I don't know in pads who cannot win in Chicago this year. Master the 5-step process to get help when you need it. And then scoop up the easy ones. There are some easy ones. Let's take a look at, the hardest part of doing this is keeping focus while you got 2.3 other billion things to do in your business. So let's just look at a couple of ideas. First, millennials are not just one big chunk. Somebody said to me, what's your next book? Millennials are tired of talking about millennials. Because there's so many haters out there, aren't they? Millennials have ruined everything. They've ruined the beer business. They've ruined the housing market. They don't buy cars. They're just awful. Plus, people come to Lancaster County for the work ethic, and they're ruining our reputation. You know how they won't work. Roll into work 7 minutes late carrying a Starbucks. When you get curious and you ask them, why don't you come in at 8:30? That's what they say. My older fellow workers, they come in at 8:30, turn on their laptops and computers, and then they go make coffee. And they stand around waiting for the coffee and chatting for 15 minutes. And then they drink bad coffee. I come in at about the time they start working, and I don't drink bad coffee. You tell me who's the smart one. When you get curious and you listen to the reason, you're like, no, there is a point to that. Although at first I was like, seriously, just don't pick up the coffee. Or as one of them said to me, I'm already going to be 2 minutes late anyway. Why not just get coffee? Why are you laughing, friend? You would never do that, would you? Never. But there's 3 different types of millennials. There are millennials who are settled down with kids. My son said to me, are you still talking about this? I got a kid and a mortgage. Are you still talking about millennials? I say, yes, but not really you. Not your millennials. We're often talking about younger millennials who are emerging adults. A new life stage between 18 and 28. And then you got people new to the workplace and people who are younger but with some years of experience. And you got to manage them differently. Now that millennials are having kiddos, things settle down. I went to Costa Rica and they said, what do we need to keep millennials from jumping from job to job, from bank to bank for 50 cents more an hour? I said, they need to have babies. Once people have babies, they call Uber Eats. They don't leave their home anymore. We all promise ourselves, I'm not going to be like those other people. We're going to still go out. And then after you pack up the car for 25 minutes just to go get dinner, you're like, why don't you just bring it back? Why don't we just stay in here and never leave? Look at you nod. It happens. You promise yourself, don't you? We're not going to be like that. And it only takes a little while before it's, yeah, whatever. I'll just stay here with the kids. Yeah. And then now we've got younger people supervising older people. And so it's really easy to lump millennials into a category when they're not. One of the most important parts of research on generational differences today with the cutting edge is emerging adulthood, life stages. Because we live longer, the chapters in the book of life have more chapters. The book of life has more chapters. One of them is when people retire. I was talking to these fine gentlemen, these Goffman boys, about their business and their parents who started the thing, now mainly travel. Well, think about it. We're the first generation blessed with this much more life. 30 more years means people have longer before they settle down into early adulthood. And they have often opportunities for health and money after they retire to do other things. It's called a second adulthood, the chosen adulthood. The working years, and then the years in which you leave accounting and buy a pretzel company, right? Yeah, your second adulthood, the second set of choices. Then you have the health and the resources to do something else. Hey, by the way, for those of you who are, I know I'm dipping into the second book, the religious book, and if you're not a religious person, then I'm not going to overdo it here, but I just want to point out that one of the great challenges of figuring out what to do in second adulthood is that anybody remember when the average person retires, kind of the stereotype was the male retires and then within 2 or 3 years they're dead? It made sense to say, hey, soul, take your ease. You build up arms. Take your ease. You only got another year or two. Now that people may have 25 or 30 years, I am really positive the good Lord did not put us on the planet when it was the largest, with the most health and wealth of any other generation in the history of the world, to have 30 years of soul take your ease. If I have any recollection, stuff like that makes God a little testy. When somebody says, I'm going to kick back, and I'm going to enjoy a retirement focused solely on myself. It makes God a little testy. And sometimes it ends badly for the people involved. Emergent adulthood is a new life stage on the front end between 18 and 28 that sociologists have identified. Anybody heard of emerging adulthood? Yeah, this is about right. Usually about 3 hands out of 100 go up. Kind of like adolescence was coined in the 1890s, was people began in the cities and no longer in the farm, and families weren't together as much, and so adolescence developed, emerging adulthood develops out of social changes. And it's characterized by freedom, change, and choice. Let me finish that up. Freedom, change, and choice. I did a TED Talk on it if you're a TED Talk person. I have to say it's a 9-minute TED Talk. Haven't all of our attention spans just declined? Remember when TED Talks came out, it's like, ooh, a whole speech in 18 minutes. Isn't this great? And now when you hit an 18-minute one, you're like, seriously, dude, wrap it up. Let's go. 18 minutes, you're killing me, Smalls. Because we're so used to the 9-minute ones now. That they seem to drag on. So I did a 9-minute one, I'll tell you, in case you're a TikTok person. Called Why Half of What You Heard About Millennials Is Wrong, and it's not because the data's wrong. There's so much fake news about millennials out there, it's ridiculous. But even if it's correct, it's not because they're millennials, it's because of emerging adulthood. When people don't settle down until later, they have a lot more freedom. I did not have freedom. Mrs. Shaw made it clear I knew that. Are you with me? I graduated on Saturday, got married the next Saturday. And my father, who's a minister, we're standing next to each other, about to walk to the front of the church to get married. And a minute before we get married, he leans over and says to me, you know, when you do this, you can't move back home. I said, I'm doing this because I don't want to move back home. And then as we're walking to the front of the church, he squeezes my hand and whispers to me, good talk. Because we weren't always in complete alignment, but we were in complete alignment because Alfred Hitchcock had a movie in 1961 about a boy who lived with his mom too long. What was the name of Hitchcock's movie?
Psycho.
Psycho is what the older generations thought about people who live with their mom too long. Tattoo boy just moved out of our home to Florida. He paid no rent. Mainly because he was between his mother and myself. And when he said to me, can I move back in and pay no rent and save for a down payment on a house? I was about to say no, and his mother went. And so I said, well, yes, of course you can. What really bothered me, though, is he wanted the bedroom painted. He was making demands on the landlord when he wasn't paying rent. It really bugged me. I'm like, you feel room yourself. Yeah, so she went ahead and called and brought a painter in. Yes, I had that same look too. She said, don't give me no lip. Isn't it great that he wants to save for a down payment on a house? So he goes, why should I pay rent when I could collect rent? I see your argument. Just give me a little rent. That's all I was saying. It would apply to me too. And it didn't work that way. So he moved out. I cannot believe I let him live with me. It really bothered me. And my wife said to me, honey, what world do you think we live in? You need a time change makeover, Oprah. That's what she said to me. She said, it's not your hairstyle that's the same. She said, it's your view of the world. How close could our children ever live to where we live with the prices of the southern suburbs of Chicago now? We got our first condo, although it was a fixer-upper, for $35,000. Today, $35,000 is a down payment on nothing that you would ever want your kids to live in. Our children would have to live far away from us, and I want them all to have grandbabies, and I want my grandbabies close. She has a strategy, she has a plan, she has a full execution model for her 5-year strategy. Are you following me here? And I kind of looked up and went, she goes, honey, the world has changed from when we... Which is why Pew Research reports that multi-generational households are the fastest growing category of households in the country. Now, can you tell it bothers me a little bit? I'm not completely adjusted to it. Because it was such a big deal with Alfred Hitchcock, and it doesn't bother any of I was undateable if I was still living at home. Hey, you want to go out and then go back home and have popcorn with my mom and dad? Undateable. My kids date people and I'm like, oh, you're so smart, you're living at home saving money. We have more disposable income for us to enjoy. Yeah. Yeah, whereas nobody would date me. They think they're smart if they live at home. Does this make sense to you? It does. I mean, no, but yes. And so it's easy. This woman I love, she gives my kids, until Verizon changed the Edge plan and you can't give your phones away. She'd give her phone to all the kids. Hey, Mom, can I have your phone? I want the new one. And then she'd have like a 4-year-old phone and it wouldn't work anymore. She's like, I can't get my phone to work. Honey, you need an ISO update on your iPhone. She goes, well, I can't update it because then it would brick it because it's so old. But I can't get Facebook to work. You ever done that? Smack your phone on the table because it won't work when you really just need to update the iOS? What's wrong with these kids? What's wrong with this generation? What's wrong with these old people? Doggone it, why won't you use Slack? Email stinks. Slack is amazing. Some of the people my age are like me. They're like, what is Slack? And so, what we look at the other generation, and we're like, what's wrong with you? And really, we just need to update the iOS system. And go, okay, different world, different challenges. Let me increase my generation like you. Emerging adulthood helps us with that. Let's look at 2 of these and wrap it up. What do I think about feedback, traditionalists? If you do anything wrong, the boss will let you know. Anybody who worked for somebody who was older, no news is... Okay? Baby boomers, annual performance appraisals and quarterly one-on-one meetings with the boss will allow employees to know where they stand. Gen Xers, people who respect each other don't need a form or a meeting. Just tell me how you think the project is going. And the millennials, just put the score on the screen. I've never had a time in my life where I couldn't look up my grades or see the score. Work is the first place I've come to where I don't know how I'm doing on a regular basis. So I'm at BDO, the accountancy, and somebody said, I hear millennials need more feedback. How much more do they need? I said, well, take the amount of feedback you would want and then double it. And then double it again, and you can meet them halfway. Everybody wants the same thing. They want feedback, but the delivery mechanism is different. Does that make sense? If somebody gave me that much feedback, and I hear it from all my kids, I can't get my boss to tell me negative feedback. What? Yeah. Oh yeah, they think you're the trophy generation, so they're pulling their punches. Plus, sometimes people don't react that well. You're yelling. No, this is not yelling. You should have heard my boss when I first came into the workplace. That boss was a yeller. I've never raised my voice with you. What do you mean I'm yelling? Well, you told me strongly that what I did was not right. That ain't yelling. Well, it is in my generation. That's shouting. You're typing in all caps. So sometimes it's like different countries that have to navigate themselves, don't they? Yeah, my kids would go, you're yelling at me. No, your grandma was a yeller. Grandma never yells. I know, and she's your grandma. You will never know my mother. I wish just one day you could meet my mom. All right? Oh, if you would like this slide deck, plus some additional stuff I threw in there, and a 4-page summary of the book of how to motivate millennials, if you just type text 22828 to PDR. I don't have a placard on the table. I just throw this in because people are like, hey, can I get a copy of the slides? And I try to make it easy for folks. So if you're like, one quick tip, if you'll just take a photo of that, then sometime today or tomorrow you can sit it up and it'll automatically kick something to you and then my admin will send you the slide deck. All right, one more. How do I like knowledge to be transferred? Okay, some of you who are small business owners, you all know that you need a succession plan, and do you know that less than 20% of people have a succession plan that they're actually working on? There's other things you do in the business, or sometimes it's like life insurance. I would shop for life insurance, except I'm not motivated to look at products I have to die to enjoy. Succession planning kind of feels like at the end of something and the beginning of something else. So sometimes people put it off. Here's the point. Baby boomers really mean it this time. They really are retiring. They said they were going to retire early, and then the recession hit in 2000. Then the Great Recession hit, and they really didn't leave. This is why the Gen Xers are called the Prince Charles of the organizational world. Yeah, because the boomers are so like, no, I'm not going again. You know what? They're leaving at 10,000 a day now. The boomers are retiring at 10,000 a day. I was speaking to the Code Council, the people that come up with codes and enforce codes for buildings. They said we did the study on it, and 75% of all code enforcement professionals are eligible for retirement in 2 years. What we need is a massive knowledge transfer plan, and we're often not thinking about that. Well, traditionalists, they were observational and oral. How many baby boomers learned what they needed to know to get promoted by listening to the old dogs tell stories? Then, boomers were observational and oral. Xers were oral and written. Somebody write this down into a policy or a manual. Millennials are written in video. Seriously? Can't we net this out? Isn't there like a 3-minute YouTube video that explains all this? Do I have to listen to you tell me the history of stuff? So let me wrap up. Single biggest complaint about young people in feedback, the younger generations in feedback is, when you get feedback, older generations, especially baby boomers, may take 20 minutes. When they have time, they feel like talking, they click back into oral history mode like they were trained. I remember when I first started here, we did they give you the whole history of the business, and you're like, you're giving me the history of copier paper usage here in the... I remember when the goldenrod years in the 80s, seriously, I just wanted to pop in and find out what color you wanted this printed on. And you're giving me the... And what they think is, I'm mentoring, and they're thinking, you're killing me, Smalls. Think Twitter, 104, I know it's 280 now, but 140 characters or less. Short, succinct feedback. More often, higher quality, and your younger generations won't write on Glassdoor, can't get any feedback around this place. Think Twitter, not the stories that you were told. Does this make sense? And use video. How do we get baby boomers to write down what they know? They won't, because they were oral in the way they were trained. What they get mad at is the younger generations won't listen to the stories. You know, I try to coach them, I try to help some of them, and they won't listen. Film them. British Telecom did. Have people pull out their phone, film a 2-minute slice of their best thinking. They have hundreds of those videos within SharePoint. SharePoint comes built into most people's office systems, right? They put it on a SharePoint site, they tag them so people can look them up by topic, and then people have a file of things they can look up. The first thing people want to do at work, recent study by Gen Z by Dell, and then I really will quick, because I'm cutting into our Q&A time. Recent study by Dell. I said like 2 years ago. Number one thing younger people wanted to do was ask their boss a question. Second thing was ask a peer a question. Third thing was see a video about how to do it. We make knowledge transfer way too hard. Most knowledge transfer systems are way too detailed, have way too much writing. People aren't going to do it. And you know what? People don't read it. How many of you have watched a Gen Zer scroll through their phone? How many of you have looked at your kids and gone, honey, you're going so fast you can't even see what your friends wrote? They're not looking for what their friends wrote. They have an 8-second attention span. It's gone from 12 seconds to 8 seconds with Gen Z. It's a photo and a caption. If you post anything online and you're trying to market to Gen Z and you have more than a photo and a short caption, you are talking in too many words. Blah, 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 blah. Their friends post stuff and they just look at the picture and sometimes don't even stop and look at the caption as they scroll through. Does this make sense? Videos, however, YouTube is by far the greatest search engine for Generation Z. Not Google. They go to Google when they need to look up a fact. YouTube is the search engine of choice. So knowledge transfer, it's something quite easy any organization can do immediately through video. It's the end of the world as we know it. We've never had 5 generations of customers. We've never had 4 generations in the workplace. It's a brand new thing most of us have to figure out. But you know, these younger 2 generations, if the research is right, they can be the most productive ones. They'll do it differently, won't they? They may not show up quite at 8:30, like we did in factories. And then they get a whole lot done during the day. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I think I feel fine if us old dogs don't mess it up. Text any questions to that number. Now, I have to admit, when Wendy and I were testing, I said, Wendy, would you like me to test it for you? She goes, yes. And I texted it into my email. That's a simple old man fail. I'm just telling you now. So if you're old school and just want to put up a hand and ask a question, we might consider that as well, since I messed up but if you'll go to your texting and just type that number in where a name would go, and the phone number, and then text your message, we can sort through it as well.
Great, thank you. Just a thank you for this so far. Haydn, thank you. While you're thinking, and some of you typing slowly what those questions are into your phone, just a few mentions. We have a couple of things on your tabletop. We did give you a little bullet journal to take along with you today, and also some fast facts on Global Disciples. And we tried to be a little generationally wise with what we're doing and sharing some of that information. So I hope you enjoy those. And take them with you and share it with somebody if you've seen it before or you're looking for it.
Well, Wendy, let me interrupt you while the questions are coming in. Because Wendy just held up and so we're trying to be generationally wise. I want to notice their graphics. Yesterday I was speaking with the Pickle Packers Association. Guess what they do? They really do. Any pickled items, including kraut, it's kind of part of that association. And many of them are processors. And so they have websites of which younger people they're trying to attract. Here's the comment that younger people will say. Oh, they must be out of business. Here's why. Because they have a B2B website. They haven't really updated it since '99. They've changed the SKU numbers, they've changed the pricing that people could look up. But the website was kind of designed in '99, and to a younger millennial or a Gen Zer you want to attract, they think you're out of business because they can't imagine that a place that isn't out of business would have a website that looks like that. So what I said yesterday was, if you want to attract young workers, you need a website that makes sense to them, that speaks their language. Does this make sense? And their language is, what did I say earlier? What was their language? It's not words. Yeah, a picture and a caption. So how many of you have seen websites that are now that are photo oriented? You click on a photo and it takes you to whatever category you want. Not to click on a word or a heading like we're used to. That's the new web format. And you ready? You design it for the mobile phone first. 60% of all web traffic is what? Most of it is designed it for the computer and then adjust it to the phone. You design it for your phone and then it also works on a You're like, no, we're B2B. People are looking this up on computer. Yeah, unless you have a buyer who is now 24. For the last 20 years, they looked it up on a computer. It just makes life a lot more complicated now that buyers are showing up who have their master's degree and are like, yeah, well, I think you've been a little overpriced here. Like, well, you know, we've been working together for 20 years, which is why we're asking all vendors to resubmit. Anybody heard that one lately? They're like, I took a lot of people golfing and bought a lot of lunches so that we'd have a great relationship. What do you mean, resubmit? Different world, different type of relationship. You have to speak their language. You have to speak their language.
I think we have a couple of millennials asking questions.
Excellent. It doesn't surprise me that they were the first onto the text messaging.
What are the best questions for millennials to be asking the older generations in their workplace to help understand them better?
Well, there's this book. And I really mean that. I wrote the book for people my age to unclench their teeth. Pizza tattoo. And I also wrote it for younger generations who don't know the ghost stories of their older generations. We only make sense when we know each other's stories. So you notice I spend a lot more time telling the backstory why a generation thinks the way they do, because you can watch it. Well, my wife never read the business book. I'm not making this up. She goes, quit telling people I never read your book. It's embarrassing. Okay, well then read it. It's even on audiobook. She's like, whatever. You told me enough about it. I know it. Leave me alone. But she read the second book, the religious book, like it. I actually called home and went, hey, baby, how you doing? She goes, I'm reading your book. It just came in the mail. I had cereal for dinner. I want to finish. I was like, really? You like it enough that you won't talk to me? She goes, yeah, leave me alone. I'll talk to you about it tomorrow. But here's what she said. When you understand another generation, it makes your heart tickle. Well, that's actually a Bible word. That's the word that is in that verse of Ephesians where it says, think tenderly, bear one with one another, be tender toward each other. What it means is be understanding of their perspective and how they see the world. It's just good business to do it that way. And so I think a couple of questions are, why? You know, tell me, it's really easy for a younger person to come in and go, we ought to change this and we ought to change that. Why, how did it get to be like this? What I say in the book is, you need to know where the skeletons are. You need to know how it got here. Because often it's easy to go, well, let's change this and let's change that. And someone goes, no, not quite, because this happened once, and this happened once, and you have no idea how we got here. I was having a conversation recently where someone said, what I noticed is that older generations seem almost frustrated that younger generations don't appreciate what's been developed. And you know what? It's true. Not once did my children at 6 say to me, Father, thank you for the dinner that you provided. I must go clean my room because you never had a house like this with a room like this. And because I have so much, I would like to keep it clean. I would like the carpets to last forever. Never once did they say that. What would happen is Mrs. Shaw would say, I don't know why we went from a split level to a house with a basement, because now there's like a month of toys down there. I can't take it anymore. And it's true, her eye would start to twitch when she just couldn't take it anymore. And she would say, they're your boys. And genetically speaking, it was kind of true. She's like, they're your boys and they're like you. You go make them clean up. And I'd start bellowing. And I remember when my 4-year-old looked up, sitting on a pile of Legos. How can they do it? Have you seen young children do that? Lego imprints in their bottom. Sitting on Legos rather than clean them up. And then he looks up and goes, I know, you'll quit yelling at us when she quits yelling at you. Wow, you don't have to be very old to figure out the family dynamics, do you? That was a pretty good observation. That's got a master's in psychology level 1.
So I think Haydn's helping us understand the value of hearing some of these generational stories. But I have another question.
Didn't Whitney handle that well?
Another question for you. How does the conversation we just had you just shared apply to identifying, recruiting top talent in your organization?
Number one, emerging adults are going to leave. It's the freedom, change, and choice, the three major characteristics of emerging adulthood. Which of those sound like 30-year tenure? I know, you can see why I'm not an inspirational or motivational speaker. People are like, dude, you are so depressing. But you know what, when adolescence first came out, it'd be really frustrating for people to go, what is wrong with you? You ever see people in a store yell at an adolescent? What is your problem? I'm like, I have no idea. I'm having hormonal changes and new life experiences I've never handled before. You've been dealing with this for 30 years. This is all brand new to me. Just yesterday I ran into something I've never experienced, and it just got overwhelming. And so when you ask me questions that require deep thought and reflection about brand new experiences, all I can do is shut up and pretend you're not here. You know, it'd be kind of unwise to go, why are you so moody? I don't know, it's called adolescent. It's one of the characteristics. Does this make sense? If some of the characteristics of emerging adulthood are freedom, change, and choice, then until they settle down, move into early adulthood, like my son, why are you still talking about us? I got a house and a mortgage. I'm not going anywhere. They have more freedom. It's not millennials, because Gen Z will be the same way because it's a new life stage. Once we realize it's a new life stage, we're like, ooh, we got to figure out what to do with this new life stage, rather than, as I said to some military leaders, clicking our heels together and hoping there's no place like home. There's no good place like home, and the millennials will go away and the Gen Z will be better. Someone said, I heard Gen Z is more serious, more like traditionalists. I said, in some ways, but not in this way. They went, oh, we were so hoping if we could just outlast the millennials. We get people who are dedicated and loyal. They said, that sounds really bad when you said it out loud, doesn't it? I said, no, it sounds really human. And you know what? It's a new life stage, and so we'll just have to figure out. 3 ideas for recruiting. The first one is change your website. The second one is have stuff for parents on your website. I wasn't joking when I said to my son, you got to get the tattoo through somebody's old man. But you know what? Millennials talk to their parents about their job. Not because they're helicopter parents, but because they're educated parents. Here's what my grandfather told my dad when he went off to college. I got a semester's worth of money, and I got nothing else for you, Wayne. If you wanted to know how to birth a calf, I could help you, but I don't know anything about the world you're entering. So when the millennials came in the workplace and their parents were like calling the boss and writing letters and other stuff, it threw us all off. We're like, this is freakish. But really what was happening is you had the first generation of people that had already been in the world their children were in. They were knowledgeable parents. Now some of them were helicopter parents and needed therapy and often medication. But most of us weren't helicopter parents. We just knew the world our kids were entering and could offer them advice that my grandfather could never give my father. You follow me here? One of the biggest sources of advice is, should I take this job or not? You better have something in your website that speaks to the person with the tattoo and the person who's older than the tattoo. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then, lastly, you have to tell the truth. Most websites that do try to attract younger people, they're all glamour shot websites. Remember the glamour shots in the mall where windblown and heavy lighting and it just looked like some Hollywood shot? They don't want to know the Hollywood shot. They want to know what it's really like. I got a yeah from a millennial. So what you need is your millennials to say what they like and not like, and then you post it on your own website. So for those of you who are older, it's like, we're going to have millennials say things they don't like about working here and put it on our own website. Because nobody else will believe you. Here's what one major marketer of Gen Z said. Gen Z can smell sales before you post your social media post. if they think you're selling and it's not authentic. You know who the biggest YouTube follow channels are? They're people who are rather authentic. I don't get it. The average 5th grade boy watches other people play video games an hour and 20 minutes a day. They don't play video games an hour and 20 minutes a day. They watch YouTube channels of people playing video games an hour and 20 minutes a day. Yes, you have one of those kids and you don't understand them. I can see from the way you're shaking your head. Hey, honey, what do you want to do tonight? Hey, you want to watch somebody play Minecraft? No, I actually don't ever want to do that. But if that's what you want to do, that's what we'll do. And it's because they're authentic. They tell stories. No, there's a lot of trash. The trashiest place your kids could be is some of those YouTube channels. At the same time, people like it. Why do you like them? Oh, because they're so real. Now, what do you do to retain them? They're going to leave you, but you want them back. How many of you have a mailing list of your best employees who have left for other opportunities or other interests? That's your best mailing list, because guess what? They will procreate and come home closer to family for the free babysitting. And where do you want them to work when they move back? Every 9 months, you ought to be pinging them saying, hey, just want you to know, we're still here and we really enjoyed having it. By the way, we're looking for people. Do you have any contacts back here that you know of that you think would be a great fit here? Who's your best recruiters but the people you liked working there? Yesterday at Pickle Packers, and I'm almost done Monday in answering that question, just to let you know. I really am winding down. I don't, as many could tell last night at dinner, I don't wind down, I just stop. Yeah, and but what I told them yesterday at Pickle Packers, for people who are not hiring like college, university, professional folks, they're hiring more labor folks. A lot of millennials get really frustrated with other millennials, especially in this low unemployment market. Here's what, all across the country, people are like, yeah, whatever, forget the generational stuff. What do we do with 3.5% unemployment? It hadn't been like this since 1969. This is the lowest unemployment for the longest since 1969. So if you're struggling to find good people, there's a reason for that. Your employees who are working next to unreliable, unmotivated folks don't like it any more than you do. So go ask them, who do you know that you would like to work with, and how do you think we could get them to leave where they're at and come over here? Unless I go to church with them, and that can be really awkward. So you give me their name and tell me where they go to church. This is right. It's still Lancaster County, isn't it? Yeah, tell me where they go to church. So I don't have to explain it to do when we're at a Aryan dinner. But how do we go get them? They will screen. How many of you have done stuff like that before? They will screen the best employees. They will screen the best employees, and you've got to pay attention to, you've got to track yourself on social media, because your brand is on social media.